This video is going to be a look at the Ravens' run game against the Titans. I've always had the belief that our run stats were kind of misleading. Now, it doesn't mean that we didn't have an effective run game under Greg Roman, and at times clearly dominant, specifically 2019. But Lamar's additional rushing stats on top of it can be a little misleading in terms of the consistent impact of it. Compare our rushing stats from Sunday's win over the Titans to Derrick Henry's stats. We had 39 carries as a team for 139. I think the Texans had 29 carries for 129. We know one of those was an irregular 63-yard run by Derrick Henry. It still counts, but it's evidence that a large chunk of their 129 rushing yards was accounted for on one play. He also had, I think, a 25-yard touchdown run. So over 85 yards of their rushing offense occurred on two specific plays, 88 yards to be precise. From watching the film Monday night into Tuesday night, our run game at times actually didn't look as bad as I remembered it. Now, I'm going to have one run from Lamar in here, to be honest with you. But generally, we're going to be showing runs by Justice Hill, who had 8 carries for 35 yards, and Gus Edwards, who had 16 for 41. I'll let this flow. This is a second possession run for 6 yards. 1st and 10, we're inside Titans territory. Nice surge here. Somewhat of an annoying point to make here first. Last week against the Steelers, 2 weeks ago against the Steelers, when we went trips closed pistol, you may remember me ranting and raving about it. We ran stretch to the trip side multiple times. Well, we're still running to that side, still conceptually the same thing, except it's a different run scheme. It's a counter scheme. It's one of my favorite plays, counter wineback from last year. Gus ends up getting downhill, shoulder square to the line of scrimmage, surging forward for 6 yards. Very next play, 2nd and 3. They have it listed as 2nd and 3. I had 2nd and 4 in the database. Pin pull pitch from bunch right A for 8 yards. I didn't even really remember this play, to be honest with you. Nice cut by Gus, making a guy miss. Actually, I think making 2 guys miss. I think this was a hurry-up situation. That's why the camera is a little bit out of focus at first, but making 1 guy miss, 2nd guy dodging him as well, Murphy Bunting. Really cool run. That run concept has been foundational for, I almost said Greg Roman, for Todd Monken this year. It's been effective. I'd like to see us kind of go to the fake pitch more and throw to the backside X. But in any case, 8 yards on 2 consecutive runs on the second drive. End zone angle, same play. If you're not familiar with it, normally you're getting someone who's pinning down and a pull by the right tackle. I think I actually drew that up a little bit wrong. Andrews is pinning, and Likely and Moses are the guys pulling, and all they're trying to do is create some type of shield for Gus to cut off of. Beautiful job of making 1, and then 2 guys miss, skipping out of there. Simmons, who's a hell of an athlete for a big dude, makes the tackle. Still second possession. This is going to be Gus for 5 on a toss play out of 22 personnel. Conceptually similar to the pin pull pitch. This is just toss, crack, synonymous, or very similar names, I should say. Lamar's going to open opposite of the flow of the running back and Ricard. They're going this way. And Lamar's initial opening is going to open here to toss the ball in the opposite direction. And we're going to try to get pins over here with Duve and Andrews on the edge defender, who I think is Arden Key. Pull Ronnie Stanley out of there. Andrews, you can see, really fighting pressure. Gus gets 5 out of it. We're not overwhelming them with 10 and 12-yard gains, but here so far we're doing a nice job with the run game, and it surprised me in watching it on Monday night and Tuesday. Okay, so third possession now. This is Lamar for 7. I mean, it still counts. I'm going to show, for the preview for the Lions game, I'm going to show some option stuff. I suspect that Lions fans are a little less familiar with some of the concepts that we Ravens fans are familiar with. I mean, this is still in. We're still using the pistol option when we want to. I love that Lamar doesn't look straight at the guy to read him. You'll get the end zone angle here in a moment, and you'll see it. He's taught, obviously, correctly. Ends up getting 7 yards to the boundary. Creates this real interesting dichotomy for defenses who normally are going to set their nickel to the field. In this case, the Titans appear to be matching with their base 4-3 personnel, and I wonder if that's why we're optioning them here out of this look when we go 20 personnel. What I mean by 20 personnel is you got Gus Edwards and Ricard, 2 running backs, and then 3 receivers, Flowers, Bateman, and I think Duvernay. It's no surprise that they're running to Duvernay's side because he's a high effort guy on run plays, on blocking on run plays down the field. Flowers actually had 2 nice blocks in this game, to be honest with you. Same play, end zone angle, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Isolating the defensive end. Ricard is releasing inside to go get the inside linebacker. He's not arc releasing. Lamar correctly reads it. He's read that hundreds of times in his career with the Ravens. Takes off for the first down. Moving forward, 4th drive. This is going to be 2 consecutive runs by Justice Hill. Kind of forget these, to be honest with you. The first one is like this outside zone stretch. I thought it was a hold on Moses, live speed, but it turned out it was not. This is a beautiful cut by Hill, and then a great hit by Biard to finish the play. It's 8 yards to the field side. 22 personnel again. Nelson Aguilar is trusted by Todd Monken to block. He seems to be our most trusted receiver, along with Duvernay. You've got a pretty good job, I think, by Ricard and Andrews over here. Moses is trying to fight to the outside. That guy is trying to beat the head. And Moses just stays with him, dumps him to the ground. End zone angle, same play. Going to be moving to this side, outside run path, outside zone. And Justice Hill is perfect for this stuff because he's got the speed and the cutability. It's a nice job by Linderbaum using the inside arm to keep this defensive tackle on the backside. Zeitler trying to climb up to Al-Shair, whose name I mispronounced for 2 days. Feel bad about that because he's a hell of a football player. Made 15 tackles. Great finish by Biard. Very next play, end zone angle only, I think. This is going to be run to the field side now to the left. So the exact opposite side, our right-hand side, the offense is left to Stanley's side. And it's just a bounce by Justice Hill. It's just a bounce. He's got the speed to do that and duck around the edge for another 7 yards. 10 yards, excuse me. You can see the move he puts on that inside linebacker in the hole. I mean, that's a pretty sick move, and he did it instinctively and immediately. And then he's already in the bounce. I couldn't even pause it in time, even though I knew it was coming. Zay Flowers staying with his guy downfield, ends up dumping him out of bounds. 10 yards. One more option play for Lamar, and then we'll show a Gus run to finish this off. Was the run game dominant? No. I mean, we did end up with 3.6 yards per carry, but I also wonder if, this is just, tell me how dumb this sounds. If we're running a lot of plays from inside the 5 or the 3 or the 2, the max amount of yards we can get in those situations is 5 if we're at the 5-yard line, or 3 or 2, depending on what yard line we're starting at. I think there's some element of the statistics that is slightly skewed because of where we're running the ball from at times. Of course, most offenses are going to run the ball when it's short yardage situations, but it seems to me that we ran an inordinate amount of times inside the 5 in this week after doing the exact opposite in some ways against the Steelers. So Zay Flowers going outside, following Gus Edwards. Depending on what Lamar is reading, this could be a give for real, and I think it is. I think it should be a give. Lamar ends up keeping it. It shows you how athletic he is for 7 yards. Let's get to the end zone angle. So I think this is just QB counter, and Lamar should be given this based on Landry's reaction. I think it's a misread. In most option offenses, when you misread it, you're taught to follow the back you should have given the ball to. Well, the path of that back is really wide. Lamar's body doesn't allow him such that he's going to be able to follow Zay Flowers out to the edge, and he just goes back against the entire grain of the blocking scheme and still gets 7 yards. That is ridiculous. So it's a counter scheme with the left guard and the left tackle pulling. This guy's totally unblocked. This guy's being blocked back towards the direction Lamar goes to. He still is able to get away from those guys. OBJ with 2 nice attempts at blocks on bigger dudes, and then tries to make up with Jeffrey Simmons after the personal foul that got called on him. Lamar usually does a great job of reading that. Perhaps I misunderstand it, but I think that who he's reading indicates a give read. Last play. Still fourth possession, no huddle. So very next play after the one I showed you, and Gus picks up just enough for the first down on the 3rd and 2 downhill. When we can get Gus's shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage, running behind his pads, he's still a major problem. No, he doesn't look as super explosive as he did at times in 2019, don't get me wrong, and even parts of 2020. But he's still an effective back, and I still trust him with the football in his hands. You guys let me know after watching a little bit of this, and maybe go look at the stats yourself. Go look at I think it's the 3 possessions in the 3rd quarter and one of our possessions in the 4th quarter. We had a 5 run play stretch where we had 3 yards total. So you're talking about 5 carries for 3 yards over like maybe 3 or 4 possessions in a row. We had we had 2 3 and outs, and we had the interception that was thrown to Bateman was a 2-play series. So we didn't run a whole lot of plays in that 3rd quarter. And then that one possession to finish the 3rd quarter kind of bridged the gap to the 4th. We had our first 2 runs on that one, I think, were pretty short. So you're talking about 3 yards on 5 carries. If you kind of swap that out of our 39 for 139, we end up at 34 carries for 136. A little bit different yards per carry. Still not, where we would like it to be, particularly not meeting the standard that Gus Edwards has in terms of his career average, 5.0 or 5.1. You guys let me know if your thoughts about the run game changed a little bit after watching the video. I guess I'm trying to persuade you to think the way I did, or have the element of surprise that I did. Because when I watched the film, particularly up through the first half, I was like, the run game actually doesn't look nearly as bad as I thought it did. And then watching the possessions in the 3rd quarter and the one that bridged the gap between the 3rd and the 4th, I was like, okay, this is the run game I thought I remembered. Appreciate you guys' time. You let me know if you enjoy trying to focus on specific elements of the offense. In this case, the run game that myself misremembered, even though the film only took 24 hours to get out. Appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section.